Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another edition of CHP Talks. I'm here with a very special guest today, Mr. John Sikkema, coming to us from Ottawa today. Hello, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Rod. Good to join you.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction. Many of our people will know who you are. John Sikkema is a Director of Law and Policy at ARPA. ARPA is the Association for Reformed Political Action. John works with ARPA's law and policy team to research, analyze, and advocate on public policy issues from a Christian worldview. He has represented clients in constitutional and human rights cases before various courts, including the Supreme Court of Canada, the Federal Court, and several provincial appellate courts. John was co-counsel for ARPA in a precedent-setting charter case in 2016, which struck down an Ontario law that prevented access to abortion-related government data. John earned a combined honors BA in political science and business administration from Brock University in 2011, a JD from Queen's University in 2014, and an LLM from Emory University in 2019. John was called to the Ontario Bar in 2015. His writing has appeared in the Supreme Court Law Review, in Law Matters, Christian Legal Journal, Policy Options, the National Post, Comment, and the C2C Journal, among others. John has served as an adjunct lecturer on human rights at Redeemer University, and he lives with his wife and children in Gatineau. So today we'll be talking about ARPA's billboard in Hamilton and a few other related topics. And so, John, maybe just give the folks, I think most of our members would have heard about what's going on in Hamilton, but give us your take.
Sure, Rod. I'll try not to do a too long a version of the story, but a couple years ago we created the Let Kids Be campaign and an associated website, letkidsbe.ca. And the focus of that campaign is on calling governments, calling Canadians to call on their governments to end medical transitions for minors, medical transition drugs and surgeries for children. And so we've created a campaign that makes it easy for people to take action, right? Distribute flyers or put up billboards. And in this case, our ARPA Hamilton chapter of volunteers teamed up with other ARPA chapters in the region to put up a large digital billboard in Hamilton along the link, right? The Lincoln Alexander Parkway. And that was up for a few days, 4 days, and then the mayor's office found out about it. And as the mayor announced on social media, she said, "This afternoon, my office learned of a transphobic billboard, and I've directed that it be taken down." She didn't say what the billboard was, what it said. She didn't even say what it was about, except to say it's transphobic, which is, in our view, of course, not a good description.
Yeah.
And then she mentioned, that hate incidents are on the rise in Hamilton. So all you'd know from her social media statement is it's something transphobic and hateful, but you wouldn't know anything beyond that or know about the policy issue that the billboard was actually about. And Astral Media, which I understand is owned by Bell Media, took the mayor's instructions. As you can imagine, a company with contracts with the city wouldn't want to get on the mayor's bad side, and did take that billboard down. So it was up for 4 days. It was supposed to be up for 4 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar because our billboard or our bus shelter poster back in 2016 was, I think, was supposed to be up for a month, and it was up for a few days and then was taken down by this same city of Hamilton. And in fact, the Christian Heritage Party and ARPA have something in common because we've both won court cases against the city of Hamilton in the past, and it seems like they can't help themselves. They have to launch, aggressively against what we're our messaging. Our messaging and yours is pretty benign, pretty gentle. Just you're asking for protection for children from a medical transition that would change their lives, end their fertility, their possibility of becoming parents when they get older, and so on. Um, so, did the mayor give you any indication ahead of time before she made this social media post that she was taking this action?
None at all. No, we were not contacted by the mayor's office. The local volunteers were not contacted by the mayor's office. And in terms of just, as you'll know from Rod, your 2018 court victory, even aside from the question of, does a billboard like this violate an advertising policy? Would such an advertising policy, if it did violate it, be a constitutional policy? Even aside from those kinds of questions, just in terms of the procedure of the thing, CHP won in 2018 because the court said, well, Hamilton, you just took down this ad without notifying them, without doing any charter analysis, any kind of balancing of interests, nothing. You just reacted to the in that case, I think that the CBC had asked the city about the ad, and the city just kind of panicked and took it down. So that's the city is just setting itself up for a loss. It seems like for Andrea Horvath, it was act first and ask questions later. It seems like she's trying to, of course, please a certain progressive base that she has. She seemed to tweet about it pretty eagerly, and was less eager to follow up with media questions after that about the legal ramifications of this and the cost to taxpayers and so on. So, we were talking here internally, Rod, that maybe if they think, hey, they got away with censoring a dictionary definition of woman, that they can get away with censoring just about anything. But we'll see if that's true. I hope your appeal goes well.
Yes, well, and most of our, again, most of our listeners would know that our bus shelter ad that was rejected, this one did not go up at all. It took them quite a while to send us any reasoning why they thought it should not go up. And the reasoning was pretty weak, but just a picture of a woman and it says woman and adult female, which is dictionary definition. And yeah, we did lose in the first judicial review. Uh, Quite surprising to us, compared to our previous success in 2018. But we are appealing, and we certainly think that we have a good chance of overturning this ruling in the appeal. So, did you any place else in the country where you had this billboard running, or just in Hamilton?
I believe it's gone up in other places. I know it's gone up on London city buses. So London, a little bit more showing a little more wisdom and restraint there. I mean, that was actually something that had to be reviewed by its transit authority. And that, as I don't know, Rod, if you know this, but that just the fact that it went on a few city buses in London got quite a bit of attention. The CBC even reported on it, and then was careful to report on the follow-up ad that certain progressive groups purchased on the side of buses, which is to say, basically believe trans kids and other things, um, that kind of messaging. But yeah, the City of London basically, when asked by media why it allowed these ads, to freedom of expression. This is a public forum. When the city makes advertising space available, you can't just say, okay, only certain groups, only certain perspectives
No.
are allowed in city ad space. That's obviously a violation of freedom of expression and at odds with the nature of a free and democratic society where public forums are places where both sides of an issue can express their views.
Right. And this is like this Mayor Andrea Horwath, who was the former provincial leader of the NDP, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, her sensitivities and opinions are pretty easy to discern. She's seems like I said, she seems to feel compelled to make a statement on this topic. Um, and it's when a politician is making it impossible or difficult for another political point of view to be expressed, that gets into the area of tyranny or dictatorship.
We thought that was quite striking in this case as well. Just what makes it maybe sets it apart from the others is that you have the mayor's personal involvement, right? So when you have the transit commission, it doesn't mean that the people, the public servants in the transit commission are, fair and don't have an ideological bias, but at least it's not um, their ideological bias isn't something they boast about on social media. It's not something that's also even behind their brand that they get votes for. So as much as, certain bureaucrats, you might count on them having a progressive bias. Um, it's still bureaucrats deciding we can't allow this ad. In this case, it's a politician. It's a politician whose brand is progressive, whose ideology, whose philosophy is progressive, deciding that her ideological opponents may not speak. Right. So
Yeah.
that just the fact that it's a politician also acting as judge is quite striking to us. I trust that to any fair-minded judge, it will be that will seem problematic as well.
Yeah. So you this campaign was launched. I'm not sure when you first launched the Let Kids Be campaign. LetKidsBe.ca is where people can find out more about it. Do you know when you first when that hit the skids there?
Yeah, 2.5 years ago, I believe the LetKidsBe.ca website was launched, and ARPA has been advocating on this issue for much longer than that, of course. But the kind of focused campaign and messaging and dedicated website to that issue, more recent. So, like I said, I think 2.5 years.
Well, it's a bit of a track record already. You've been at this particular messaging for that length of time, and you actually have a rally coming up on September 27th in Toronto on that theme, and that rally was planned before the Andrea Horwath debacle here.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, in fact, this in some ways, the fact that she ordered this taken down is quite good timing for us a month in advance, a bit more than a month in advance of that event, given all the attention that the website is now getting. And we've seen things like we've seen CHCH News, Hamilton and region news carrier cover this issue, and then people complain about, hey, you're covering this issue gives them more attention. And we've even seen certain videos taken down, I think, for that reason, because as long as they're on the internet getting traffic, it just brings more and more attention to the campaign. So these videos have been taken down by certain news organizations, but we're still thankful for the coverage. We hope, we hope people come to the event. We hope people, generally, I think most people, want to have messaging that they recognize that there's kids on the other side of this who, it's not their fault. They've been misled. They've been indoctrinated to believe, they might be trapped in the wrong body. So we want our messaging to be sensitive to those kids, careful on the issue, but at the same time, just frank and forthright. That's what the billboard was, just a frank statement of a policy position. We shouldn't be transitioning children. And of course, many countries and states have come to that same position. So people should be asking why. Why have these other jurisdictions come to do that? And maybe Canada should as well. So that's what the campaign and that event is about. Um, yeah. So thanks for mentioning that event as well, Rod.
yeah, we'll put it in the show notes as well. People can find out more at letkidsbe.ca, or even they can go to arpacanada.ca, ARPA Canada.ca. And we've got also a web page up, chp.ca/gender, which describes what we're going through in our battle with Hamilton City Council regarding our bus shelter poster, which we hope to have resolved in a positive manner in the next couple of months. Um,
Right.
so, do you want to speak a little bit about the actual the concept of medical transition for children, why that's problematic, how that whole sort of movement came to be, where governments all of a sudden were joining forces with the LGBT advocacy groups, and why that is? What's your perspective on why that is taking place?
Yeah, I guess there's different versions of the story you could tell, some that are much, much longer than others in terms of how we came to be at a place where people's um, bodily sex is so devalued, where people's self-conception trumps that, and even just where people can imagine that you could be somehow trapped in the wrong body, or your body doesn't reflect your kind of inner self, your inner identity. I mean, So it's a complicated story, I think. But in terms of actually providing this type of treatment, decades ago it started with adults. I think providing it to children, for those who have an ideological view that says this should be allowed, that changing your body to kind of match your inner sense of self is a positive thing. I think it just kind of follows that allowing that for children as well kind of legitimizes it for adults. And there is, among some people, there does seem to be this kind of um, belief in call it um, a metaphysical kind of inner self. Even though critical theory, I think, is skeptical of any such thing being a natural identity. Um, these are supposed to be constructed things, and yet in kind of popular discourse, there's this belief that hey, you might be a girl on the inside, a boy on the inside, regardless of what your body says. And so these treatments are seen as helping kids kind of realize their true inner selves, their authentic selves. And yeah, that's troubling. I mean, the my colleague Levi just wrote a good article for our website on the United Nations rapporteur uh, on violence against women and girls. Her most recent report, and her report on violence against women and girls identifies some kind of emerging areas. And we were very pleased because this report identifies several things that ARPA has been working on. Sex selective abortion as a problem, the but also the erasure of women in language and in law by making the term women and girls have no reference to biology, which makes it essentially meaningless. And the rapporteur says if you can't define something, if you can't define women, if you can't define girl, then you can't protect them. You can't have appropriate sex-specific legal protections. But also, even on the issue of medical transition, this rapporteur identifies that as an issue of violence against women and girls, which in one sense might seem like rhetorical overreach, but if you realize what's actually being done to their bodies, right, especially now the increasing numbers, the bodies of young girls who in I think a twisted and pornified culture are not at ease with their developing bodies, with them being given puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and even surgeries, right? Even mastectomies on minors being done in Canada, that is a form of violence. It's harmful to their bodies. And there's quite a striking quote from this report, and I'll just read it for you,
Yeah.
where this is a United Nations rapporteur. Don't always expect any much good from the United Nations, but the UN rapporteur's report um, focuses on this issue of medical transitioning, and says the long-lasting, and I'm quoting now, the long-lasting and harmful consequences of social and medical transitioning of children, including girls, are being increasingly documented, and they include persistence or intensification of psychological distress, persistence of body dissatisfaction, infertility, early onset menopause, increase in the risk of osteoporosis, sexual dysfunction, loss of ability to breastfeed, to name a few. So that's again, that's just getting started. But there's all kinds of medical risks that have been documented here. Even just puberty blockers alone, which again, it's a lie that they're a pause button. It's 95+% of people who go on puberty blockers end up also taking cross-sex hormones, and all the problems that can cause to someone's body and natural development, and of course future sexual function and fertility. It's just astonishing. These are healthy, normal developing bodies just um, you know, being thrown drastically off course and harmed by these unnecessary interventions. And so that's there you have it. I'm glad this is getting more and more international recognition. And if Canada, were willing to have this conversation, obviously the mayor censorship is a good indicator of where we're at as a country on this, refusing to acknowledge some basic truths. But increasingly, this is going to, I think, become harder to ignore. So,
Yeah, well, there's, in terms of reforms or things going on in society where there's an acceptance or a public opinion that takes a while to change. I mean, go back to slavery as a prime example of at one point, the majority of society figured it was okay. And then there began to be some ripples, some waves of opposition, some voices, some writing and speaking about it. And eventually, the majority of society came to the conclusion that, oh, we were wrong before, and this now is right, that human beings shouldn't be slaves of other human beings. And so some of these issues, abortion, of course, is one that we're also concerned about, but the medical transition of minors, it's had a little bit of a heyday, and it's been supported by our taxpayer subsidized national media and so on. But it sounds like around the world, people are beginning to wake up to the massive harms being caused by this. And of course, there's the unreality. I mean, there's just a biological reality that a boy cannot become a girl and a girl cannot become a boy. It's in the DNA. There's a whole lot more than just removing or adding body parts. There's the whole systems inside. Uh, so and then there's the the delayed, basically regret that can often come. There are many detransitioners out there, young people who have made a decision to transition at one point in their life and later on have regretted it and wish they had not done it and are doing everything they can to get back to their original, gender identity, but it's difficult for them. And in terms of fertility, many of them, maybe most of them, are unlikely to ever be able to participate in either bearing or fathering a child. So it's a pretty big decision for kids to be making, who are not, they are at an age where some of those decisions, many decisions that children make at those ages, young people, can be reversed, can be overcome. If you go get involved with drugs, like, you can get off drugs. If you are homeless for a while, you can change your lifestyle. But when you mess with your body or allow others to mess with your body, you may never be able to get back to where you were. So, John, anything else that you'd like to cover before we close off for today?
Just for my colleagues' sake, for the team here, Rod, I would mention that event again, September 27, for those who can make it or tell others about it. We'd like to bring this to the attention of the Ontario government. Maybe they'll do something conservative. Maybe take one lesson from some of the positive things, say, the Alberta government has done. That's the hope, to at least start to build the support for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that is the Let Kids Be rally
That's
on
right. And
September 27th.
letkidsbe.ca will have information about that. So,
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being in the trenches with us as allies on some of these issues. And we certainly wish you success when this eventually goes to court, as I'm sure it will. So,
yeah, same to you.
yeah, thanks so much. God bless you, John Sikkema, representing ARPA today. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.